your blues away. I got pills to make you happy, pills to calm your head. Take them as directed. Come see me again. I said, no, no, doctor, you don't know me very well. Just give me a week on rest and breathe. I'll ring it just like a bell. I said, no, 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 I ain't gonna swallow that pill. No, 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 I ain't gonna swallow that pill. Well, my doctor looked me over, said, boy, you're getting fat. If you don't stop drinking and fool around, you're gonna have a heart attack. I got pills for high blood pressure, pills for cholesterol, pills to ease all those side effects. One pill to rule them all. I said, no, no, doctor, you don't seem to understand. I'll eat right, slow down, and I'll be a brand new man. I said, oh, no, no, I ain't gonna swallow that pill. No, 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 I ain't gonna swallow that pill.
Swallow that pill, Dookie. Eatmon, who are we listening to?
Montreal's own Dwane Dixon. This is from his brand new album, not out yet, but out here on Let's Go.
Yes.
That song is called Swallow That Pill. The name of the album is Betting on a Gambling Man. And it's going to be out in a couple of days. And I even asked him about vinyl. He said, well, you know, the vinyl explosion is really big right now, but vinyl costs a lot of money. So let's see how many copies of this we can get off here and maybe press vinyl, because he's an old school cat like myself. But I wanted to know a bit about him. You know, he's been a blues festival favorite, and he plays like 200 dates a year. He's a real jobber. He's always performing and playing somewhere, a real grinder. But I want to know a little bit about Dwane Dixon outside of, you know, the guy that always electrifies crowd. So I figured, you know, we start with where he grew up.
Well, hometown is NDG. Yeah, and
I'm an NDG boy myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was born on Giroux. I lived in several places. It's like no matter where I end up in life, I always end up back there. Right now, I'm living on the South Shore,
right,
with my lady, and I have a great life out there. But I miss NDG. It's always going to be home for me.
You're kind of in the center of everything.
Exactly. That's so convenient and so funky.
He's a 450 man now.
He's an NDG boy. Now he's in the 450 district. So I wanted to know, you know, how did this cat from NDG grow up and learn about the blues?
I guess I discovered the blues really through rock bands like Led Zeppelin, you know, Cream, Eric Clapton. I think the first blues song I ever heard was probably I Can't Quit You, Babe from Led Zeppelin 1, and it just blew my mind. And it was through that I discovered, you know, B.B. King and who was a huge influence on me. And
were you a teenager, younger than a teen when you first discovered that?
Yeah, well, when I was younger than a teen. I started playing drums at 9 years old, and switched to guitar around 11 or 12, and I was, you know, weaned on, you know, Stairway to Heaven and Wish You Were Here and all the standard acoustic songs, and then I graduated to electric guitar, and even though I was playing classic rock and stuff, you know, contemporary stuff at the time, I was always searching for that bluesy sound on the guitar, and it was always my go-to riffs were always blues riffs, and you know, so I've kind of been searching for it my whole life.
So that's Dwane Dixon talking about how he discovered the blues in NDG. The name of the album is Betting on a Gambling Man. He almost looks like a hustler, if you will, or like, you know, like a gangster type on the cover.
He has the long blonde hair and
then
a suit with a vest and a
black
tie.
Hat, and then of course there's the dice here. So I asked him about the album's theme.
Oh,
And
looks
you have
like
a
we
quote
have
from
the
it
run.
here: "A dirty talking, two-timing, whiskey drinking, no good, broke ass gambling man." Who is it? Are your parents still with us? And you have a quote from it here: "A dirty talking, two-timing, whiskey drinking, no good, broke Broke-ass gambling man. Who is this gambling man?
Well, it's funny. It's loosely based on the life of my father.
Wow.
I was born 15 years after my closest sibling, so I have a brother.
So a big gap.
Yeah, I have two brothers and sisters who are 15, 16, and 17 years older than me.
So you couldn't do much with them.
Well, they were already adults when I was born.
Right.
Although my brother was my inspiration for playing drums because he was my hero.
But he probably moved out like a year later or something.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened.
You
That's
know?
exactly what happened. But my oldest brother, we get to see each other more often now that he's retired. But he's been living in Toronto for years, and he has all these stories of my dad that I didn't know about because when he was 18 years old, I was 2, you know, so I mean, I wasn't aware of what was going on, but he told me some stories of my dad, how he used to like to go down and shoot craps in Griffintown. He was born in Griffintown, born and raised in Griffintown, so he used to like to go and shoot craps after he got his pay on Friday night. So I thought, hey, you know, told from the point of view of the mother trying to console the child, that, you know, you'll never win when you're betting on a gambling man. And by the time she says, you know, the 2-time and dirt talking whiskey, well, this is the third course. She's getting more and more frustrated with Dad as the song goes on.
So that's like your mom's lyrics.
Yeah.
My daddy liked to gamble. He was good at shooting dice. He never played the ponies, but he sure could let it ride. Working all week for that minimum wage. Friday after quit, Daddy take all of his pay. He'd break it up in singles with a 50 wrapped around. He'd comb his hair and shine his shoes and head to Griffintown. He'd say, I feel so lucky, baby. Ain't no way I'm gonna lose. Oh, Mama did her best to try to make me understand. Son, you'll never win when you're betting on a gambling man.
Are your parents still with us?
No. My mom died when I was 6, and my dad died when I was 18. So I've been on my own for a while, but that's okay. That adds to the whole blues thing, the whole motherless child.
What do you think your dad would have thought of the song?
I think my dad would have loved it. As a matter of fact, it's got a little bit of a rock and roll, rockabilly kind of vibe, because he was, you know, back in the 50s, he was a greaser.
Right. So Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis.
It was Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, and he was a big country fan too. So you know Johnny Cash. I mean, Folsom Prison, live at Folsom Prison was on every Sunday at home. You know.
What would your mama thought about it? She was dead on.
I think she would have been proud. Of course, for those who listen to the song, this is not an actual autobiography. It's not a biography of my dad. Loosely based on what if, you know. So what if he had a gambling problem and an alcohol problem and a responsibility problem?
It was the inspiration behind it.
It was the inspiration behind it. Yes, exactly.
What a life story.
He's the epitome of a real blues man.
Yeah.
His album is actually a story of his own life.
And you will tell us more about Dwane Dixon in just a moment, and we'll hear more of his music as well. He's touring Quebec this month. Let's check on the roads and public transit first with Akil Ali.
Hello. I just wanted to quickly answer a question we got from one of our listeners about the Victoria Bridge during the peak hours, rush hour, morning and afternoon. Basically, both lanes of the bridge are available in one direction each time. In the mornings from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., both lanes of the bridge only go from the South Shore to Montreal from 3 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. during weekdays. Both lanes of the bridge are only available from Montreal to the South Shore. And of course, outside those hours, one lane is open in each direction. Other than that, we are seeing the traditional heavy traffic around the Turcotte interchange. Still some light to moderate traffic from the 15 heading south from the interchange toward the Champlain Bridge, where things begin to pick up from there. And of course, we are seeing heavy traffic on the Highway 13 going north between the Côte de Liesse and the 40. Meanwhile, heavy traffic on the 13, but going southbound, the opposite direction, down toward the 20. But that actually seems to be narrowing and improving. And once you actually get past Louis A. Amos, you're pretty much in the clear.
Thank you very much, Akil. And I am here in studio with Duke Eatmon, as I am every Friday. So I know it's Friday when I see Duke in studio hanging out for a while. And today you have the sounds of Dwane Dixon. New album, not even released yet, but we do have a copy here on the show, and you're able to play some tracks from that for us. Interesting life story. NDG boy, now living on the South Shore, and this is blues.
Yeah, and the name of the album is called Betting on a Gambling Man. Although he's steeped in blues, he's somebody that's never been really afraid to experiment. Not removing himself completely from the blues idiom, but wanting to broaden the sound. We talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always been very curious about all kinds of music, although I play the blues because it's what comes naturally to me. But I mean, I love all kinds of music. I studied classical music formally at university, and so I discovered all kinds of foreign composers that I never heard of before, Bela Bartok and all this stuff. Of course, discovered Beethoven and Bach and all the big ones. So I'm into music. I love all good music. I mean,
can you play their stuff on guitar?
Well, yeah, I learned a few Bach pieces to get into Concordia when I did music there, and I wrote one of my own, and I think that was really the how I got in, because I couldn't read or write music or anything in my early 20s. I knew how to play guitar.
And you got into the classical music.
And I got in on my composition, because the composition teacher was one of my auditioners, and he saw that there was a musical intelligence behind there, so he said, okay, he needs to learn his rudiments, and but I caught up very quickly, and I thoroughly enjoyed the whole musical education. And the last one, I have a little bit of a formula to all my albums. I love to put one acoustic song, and I love to put an instrumental song. And the last one, called The Awakening, is an instrumental song.
That's the last track. Does the instrumental always end your albums?
It did on it did on my first album, and it did on this one, but on the other one it was sandwiched somewhere in between. It all depends how the flow of the album goes. Right. I like to, because I'm old school, I was raised on vinyl, so I love to listen to albums as a work, so I try to make it all make sense.
He really has the street smarts, doesn't he? Where he just picked up guitar on his own, never read music until he got into the classical program. Amazing.
It's like he raised himself. He couldn't read or write music and got in based on a classical guitar composition that he wrote. The name of the album is called Betting on a Gambling Man. He dropped by the studios Tuesday, and he was actually playing in St. Tite for a festival, and actually came here first thing in the morning after performing last night when he had to go back. So you're talking about a real grinder that's not afraid to promote his music and do what he has to do. You're going to hear another track off of Betting on a Gambling Man. This one's called Ain't No Big Thing.
Ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no lies. Make accusations, I
Dixon there. Ain't no big thing. Getting a text message. Duke, this guy's instrumental is amazing. You'll have more for us in just a second. Let's update our listeners on the roads and public transit. Akil, how's it looking?
Beware, if you are heading out in the East End off Island, the Metropolitan, the 40 East, is still showing pretty heavy traffic going east, particularly once you get past Avenue Marien. If you're around the exit to Boulevard du Tricentenaire, it's especially heavy around there, but then it does start to pick up a bit as you get close to the edge of the island and the Charles de Gaulle Bridge. That alternate route at the Le Gardeur Bridge into Repentigny is still very heavy, so you might want to steer clear of there. And just to bring you guys up to speed, since the weekend's coming, there are a few road closures you definitely need to know about, particularly a complete closure of the Highway 20 West between the Turcotte and St. Pierre interchanges from midnight tonight until 5 a.m. Monday.
Thank you very much, Akil. It is 5:26 here on the show. You're listening to Let's Go. I'm your host, Sabrina Marandola. I'm joined in studio by Duke Eatmon, our music columnist, today bringing us the bluesy sounds of Dwane Dixon.
The pride of NDG, now living on the South Shore. Brand new album. It's his third. It's called Betting on a Gambling Man. Dwane Dixon, who tore down the house at the Trois Rivières on Blues a couple of weeks ago when he opened for Los Lobos. And he's like the king of the one-nighter. So I asked him, when's the next show?
Well, I play just about every weekend around town. You can check out DwaneDixon.com. I have all my shows up there for a couple months in advance. The next fun blues thing I have is coming up on the 28th, which is Saturday. I'll be playing in Joliette for the Joliette en Blues at the Fast Fou restaurant. Not fast food, fast food comme fou. Yeah.
So Dwane Dixon in Joliette for the Joliette en Blues. They love blues in Quebec.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go out with the Save the Best for Last. My favorite track on the album is called Small Town Talking Blues. Dwane Dixon, incredible album. It'll be out before you know it. You can grab it. Go to iTunes. You can order it there as well. Betting on a Gambling Man, Dwane Dixon.
Thank you so much, Duke.
A ticket for a train, make my way to the big city lights where nobody knows my name. I'll tip my hat to Virginia, put on my walking shoes. I'm under the gun and it ain't no fun. I got the small town talking blues. I'm the kind of guy who likes to stay up late, and I like my whiskey and smoke, and I like women just a little too much. Now I'm in deep and it ain't no joke. Got a dozen men who wanna bust my head 'cause their wives have been untrue. I've had my fun, now it's time to run from these small town talking blues. Sweet Suzanne was my biggest fan. She put a contract out on me. My Michelle told me to go to hell. My face got slapped by Bobby. I'll tell you it ain't easy when you know you're going to lose. I'm a son of a gun, now the damage is done. I got the small town talking blues.
That is Dwane Dixon. Stay with us. News is next.